tonight. On First at 9 this Wednesday, the 15th of October 2025. Roadmap to recovery. All reviews under the IMF's extended fund facility are expected to be completed by mid-2027, reveals the central bank governor. Negotiations currently underway to accelerate the debt restructuring process with a view to completion by the end of this year. Maritime drug haul. Police confirms that the 50 parcels recovered off the southern coast contained a staggering 840 kilograms of narcotics. Fishing vessel linked to the smuggling operation intercepted, with 5 suspects on board taken into custody. Hiding to handcuffs. Ishara Sewandi, a primary suspect in the Ganemulla Sanjeeva murder case, extradited to Sri Lanka along with 5 other suspects. Courtroom drama. Attorney Gunaratna Vanninayaka granted bail after appearing before the Mount Lavinia Magistrates Court.
Kalin baby soap රුපියල් 90කට. Kalin baby podi හැමෝටමයි.
Homelands Expo 2025 Property Investment Forum and Exhibition. Join us on 11th October, Hilton, Colombo, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Call 0710 111 444.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening, you're joining First at 9, brought to you by Sri Lanka's most trusted news source, Derana. I'm Tarindu Mahendra, joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world. In your top story this evening, Ishara Sewandi, one of the primary suspects in the Ganemulla Sanjeeva murder case, was extradited back to Sri Lanka a few hours ago alongside 5 other suspects arrested in Nepal. These suspects were handed over to several special police investigation units for further interrogation. Ishara Sewandi, who was escorted to the country under tight security, has been placed under the custody of the Colombo Crime Division.
Notorious underworld figure Sanjeeva Kumara Samararatna alias Ganemulla Sanjeeva was shot dead inside the Halfstop court complex on February 19th. The firearm used in the killing had been smuggled into the premises concealed within a legal book by a woman identified as Ishara Sewandi, who fled the country soon after the incident. Acting on intelligence that she was hiding in Nepal, a Sri Lankan police team pursued the lead and eventually arrested her on October 13th in Bhaktapur, Nepal. Sewandi had been residing in a rented apartment within a luxury housing complex, posing as an Indian national from Bangalore. The arrest was conducted by Assistant Superintendent of Police Rohan Olugala and another Sri Lankan officer working in collaboration with the Nepalese police. Investigations revealed that she had spent nearly 6.5 million rupees to flee Sri Lanka by sea, reaching India before travelling to Nepal by train. It had also been disclosed that the suspect had stayed in India for 2 weeks before entering Nepal, where she believed she would be safe. Foreign media, quoting Nepalese security sources, reported that her arrest came following the capture of Kennedy Bastian Pillai, alias JK Bai, at a hotel in Tamil, Nepal. Information obtained from him led police directly to Sevandi's location. Upon interrogation, Sewandi has exposed a wider criminal network linked to Kehelbadara Padme's underworld and narcotics operations. Authorities later apprehended Gampaha Baba, Nugegoda Babi, Jaffna Suresh and a woman identified as Takshi, alias Duplicate Ishara, for her striking resemblance to Sewandi. During the operation, Gampaha Baba, a key lead of Padme's gang, attempted to bribe ASP Olugala with 5 million rupees to evade arrest. However, the offer had been firmly rejected. It was discovered that a fake passport had been prepared using Takshi's photograph and personal data, allegedly to facilitate Sewandi's escape to Europe. Following the murder, Sewandi reportedly spent around 6.5 million rupees on shopping sprees and travel within Sri Lanka before fleeing to India. She is also reported to have consumed alcohol heavily during her stay in Nepal. According to Nepalese media, authorities have initiated deportation proceedings for the suspects as they had not committed any offences within the country. Meanwhile, Ishara Sewandi and 5 other arrested suspects landed at the Bandaranaike International Airport at 6:54 p.m. this evening. The suspects were handed over to police for further interrogation.
The Police Narcotics Bureau confirmed that the parcels found floating in the sea off the southern coast contain over 840 kilograms of narcotics, including crystal methamphetamine, hashish and heroin. A fishing vessel linked to the smuggling operation was intercepted in Dondra earlier this afternoon, and 5 individuals aboard the vessel were taken into custody.
Based on intelligence received by Senior Superintendent of Police Hemal Prashantha, Director of the Police Narcotics Bureau, authorities uncovered a large-scale drug smuggling operation involving 3 vessels operating off the southern coast of Sri Lanka. A 32-day search operation was launched under the direct supervision of the Inspector General of Police, targeting the coast of Deundara and Tangol. The mission was a coordinated effort between the Sri Lanka Navy, Air Force and Police Narcotics Bureau. Military sources revealed that the smugglers had disabled the vessel monitoring systems of their boats to evade detection. However, based on the intelligence gathered, the Navy located 51 suspicious parcels floating at sea off the southern coast yesterday afternoon. 3 Navy vessels brought the recovered parcels ashore to the Tangol Fisheries Harbour by 7 p.m. last evening. Deputy Minister of Defence Aruna Jayasekara and Navy Commander Vice Admiral Kanchana Banagoda were present during the recovery. After inspection by the Police Narcotics Bureau, the seized packages were confirmed to contain over 840 kilograms of narcotics, including 670.676 kilograms of crystal methamphetamine, 156.542 kilograms of heroin, and 12.036 kilograms of hashish. This marks one of the largest drug seizures in Sri Lankan history.
We pledge to eliminate this drug problem in the country as quickly as possible. In the recent past, it was said these shipments were uninspected and undetected. To prevent that, we require specialized professional and tactical expertise. The expertise must be acquired, and together with coordinated action by the special intelligence units, this is a collective mission. These units must have the knowledge to take necessary steps to strike where needed and seize contraband. What we see today is the result of action taken based on the President's guidance. The current government is not interfering in these operations. Rather, it has created an environment that allows law enforcement agencies to carry out their duties independently and in accordance with the law.
It is suspected that the consignment of narcotics belonged to trafficker Una Katue Shanta. The drugs were handed over to the Police Narcotics Bureau this morning for further investigation. 5 fishermen belonging to the vessel which reportedly transported this shipment were arrested along with the vessel in Dondra this afternoon and were brought to the Dondra Fisheries Harbour. Following this historic seizure, SSP Hemal Prashantha, Director of the Police Narcotics Bureau, has been reassigned as the Acting Commanding Officer of the Police Field Force Headquarters. During his nearly 2-year leadership, he has played a critical role in seizing nearly 2 tons of drugs and disrupting smuggling networks. The reasons for his transfer remain undisclosed. SSP HMCP Herath, the former director of the Colombo South Division, has been appointed the new director of the Narcotics Bureau. Meanwhile, a separate Navy investigation is underway after a multi-day fishing vessel that had departed from the Beruela Fisheries Harbour was found to have received 50 kilograms of crystal methamphetamine from an Iranian ship. As the Navy ship Suranimala approached the suspect vessel last night, one fisherman attempted to dispose of the drugs by throwing the parcel overboard. The Navy arrested the 6 crew members, including the skipper, and brought them ashore at Beruela Harbour this morning. Initial findings reveal the drugs had been on board for 8 days. It is alleged that the skipper organized the smuggling and threatened to kill the rest of the crew at sea to ensure their silence. Investigations into the incident are ongoing.
Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuri is scheduled to undertake an official visit to India from the 16th to the 18th of October. During her visit, the Prime Minister is set to take part in several high-level meetings, including with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. On October 17th, she is scheduled to deliver the keynote address on steering change in uncertain times at the NDTV World Summit organised by NDTV and the Chintan Research Foundation. The Prime Minister returned to Sri Lanka late last night after concluding her official visit to China. Opposition leader Sajith Premadasa vows that the SJB is ready to contest the provincial council polls at any time. Speaking to the media, Premadasa called on the government to declare details for the polls.
ලාල්කාන් රමාතිතුමා කියනවා පළාත් සභාව මැතිවරණය ලබන අවුරුද්දේ තියෙනවා. මේ කියන ක්‍රමයට හරි පරණ ක්‍රමයට හරි කරනවා කියලා. එහෙනම් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ ඉදිරිපත් කරන ඔබතුමාලගේ සහාය තියෙනවද?
නැ ක්‍රමවේද ගැන අපිට කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඉතින් මට කියන්න තියෙන්නේ මැතිවරණේ තියෙනවා නම් දිනේ ප්‍රසිද්ධ කරන්නකෝ දැම්මම.
ඔබතුමාලා සමගි ජන බලවේගයේ සූදානම්
අපි ඕනම මත විමසමකට ජනතාවගේ ඒකට කියනවානේ ලිට්මස් ටෙස්ට් එක කියලා. ඒ මැතිවරණයේ කියන ලිට්මස් පරීක්ෂණයට අපි සූදානම්.
පාර්ලිමේන්තු මන්ත්‍රීවරු 4 දෙනෙක් මේ දැන්ටමත් පළාත් සභාවේ මායමිත දුර අපේක්ෂාවෙන් අයින් වෙනවා කියලා කවුරුසායි.
පොඩ්ඩක් බලන් ඉන්න.
4 දෙනෙක් අයින් වෙනවද?
ඔබතුමා කියන්නේ අපි බොරු කියනවා කියලා.
නම් ටිකක් කියන්නේ.
ඒවා නිසි කලට, නිසි ලෙසට, නිසි ආකාරයට අපි කියන්න.
Meanwhile, Minister K.D. Lanka announced that the provincial council elections will be held next year. Following the announcement, representatives of several political parties commented on the coming elections. We have decided to hold provincial council elections next year. They will be held under the new electoral system, or failing that, steps will be taken to hold the elections under the existing system. Hold the elections under any system. We are ready. We will decide on how to contest the elections based on public feedback. Our goal is to create a political movement that suits this country. Immediately after the elections are called, the Samagi Jana Balawege will nominate a group of candidates capable of securing victory in every provincial council. Several prominent figures in the district are ready to relinquish parliamentary seats to lead the provincial council election campaign. There is no point in merely gathering people. There must be an agenda and a clear plan must be presented to the people. We will only make decisions in this regard after considering the merits of such programs and the credibility of those implementing them. Preliminary discussions were successful. Right-wing movements led by the United National Party will definitely contest the provincial council elections together. Now there is no opposition in Sri Lanka. The fragmented opposition comprises those who governed the country thus far and dragged it into crisis. Even if they unite, they can only claim 29% of the vote bank. We know why the government fears elections. They secured 61.56% of the votes in the general election but only managed 43% in the local government polls. The government has lost 2.3 million votes. Let's swiftly call the provincial council elections and see who truly has public support.
පළාත් සභා මැතිවරණයට ඉක්මනින් ගිහිල්ලා බලමු ජනපදනම තියෙන කාලඟද කියලා.
හොඳම ෆෝන් එකක් ගන්න. ළඟම බාන්ස් එකට යන්න.
The World Education Fair 2025's entrance free. Register now.
Former Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment Manusha Nanayakara was arrested by the Bribery Commission today and later produced before the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court in connection with an investigation into the alleged irregularities in sending agricultural workers to Israel during the tenure of the previous government. Following court proceedings, the Colombo Chief Magistrate released Nanayakara on bail, scheduling the case to be recalled on the 10th of December.
Former Minister of Labour and Foreign Employment Manusha Nanayakara arrived at the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption this morning. He was summoned to record a statement in relation to an investigation conducted by the Bribery Commission over alleged irregularities in sending agricultural workers to Israel during the tenure of the previous government.
They have summoned me to question me on sending youths to Israel for employment during the country's economic crisis. They took revenge on former President Ranil Wickremesinghe for saving the country. Now they are seeking political revenge against me. The government and certain women in high offices intend to question Ranil Wickremesinghe and myself and place us in precarious positions.
Subsequently, the former minister was arrested by the Bribery Commission and produced before the Colombo Chief Magistrates Court. After considering the submissions by both the Bribery Commission and the legal counsel representing the former minister, the Colombo Chief Magistrate, highlighting that the probability of the suspect evading court was low, considering that he voluntarily arrived to provide a statement before the Bribery Commission, ordered that Nanayakara be released on bail. Accordingly, the former minister was released on a cash bond of 100,000 rupees and two sureties of 4 million rupees each, subject to an overseas travel ban. The case was scheduled to be recalled on the 10th of December.
මිනිසුන්ගෙන් පලිගත්තා කියලා
Seeking revenge, leveling baseless accusations or arrest will not appease the hunger of the public. Enforce the law but stop seeking political revenge. Ranil Wickremesinghe drafted the Bribery Act. That law should not be misused. The misuse of the act by certain individuals will only devalue of the Bribery Commission and the Bribery Act. The government supporters will whitewash its mistake, but they will do nothing for the country.
දෝබිල එකතු වෙලා මේ කරන දේවල් මඩ හොදයි. හැබැයි රටේ ඉස්සරහ ගමනක් සම්බන්ධ වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Attorney at Law Gunaratna Vanninayaka was granted bail by the Mount Lavinia Magistrates Court today after appearing before the court. He appeared before the court in connection with the investigation against him for allegedly obstructing the duties and verbally abusing a police constable on duty at the same court.
On the 10th of October, a complaint was lodged against Police Constable Tharinder, who was on duty at the Mount Lavinia court premises for allegedly assaulting a junior lawyer under the senior counsel Gunaratna Vanninayaka. The constable was subsequently taken into custody and later remanded by the court. He was granted bail on October 13th. Meanwhile, police have initiated an investigation into the conduct of attorney Gunaratna Vanninayaka during the incident for allegedly obstructing the constable in his duties and verbally abusing him using obscene language. However, last Sunday, police informed the court that Vanninayaka was evading arrest. Against this backdrop, a writ petition filed by attorney Gunaratna Vanninayaka seeking an order to prevent his arrest was taken into consideration by the Court of Appeal today. Appearing on behalf of Vanninayaka, President's counsel Faiz Mustafa requested that the court issue an order preventing Vanninayaka's arrest, stating that his client was prepared to appear before the court. Responding to the request, President of the Court of Appeal, Justice Rohantha Abesurya, stated that the court is unable to entertain the petitioner's request. Justice Abesurya further stated that it would be appropriate for the petitioner to appear before the magistrate's court and resolve the matter. Accordingly, attorney Gunaratna Vanninayaka appeared before the Mount Lavinia Magistrates Court this afternoon, accompanied by the President of the Sri Lanka Bar Association, Rajiv Amarasuriya. Appearing for the suspect, President's counsel Upul Jayasuriya told the court that an argument arose between attorney Vanninayaka and the police constable after court proceedings had ended, adding that the incident occurred while the lawyer was inside his vehicle. He asserted that assaulting a lawyer within court premises was an insult to the legal profession and urged that his client be released on bail. President of the Bar Association, Rajiv Amarasuriya, also addressed the court, expressing regret that a dispute had arisen among legal professionals and police officers and warned that remanding the lawyer could further escalate tensions. However, attorney Dimuthu Pradeep Jayasinghe, representing the police legal division, opposed bail, highlighting that the suspect had failed to appear to give a statement and had not cooperated with the investigation. However, attorney Gunaratna Vanninayaka was granted bail by the Mount Lavinia Magistrates Court and was released on two sureties of 500,000 rupees each. He was also ordered to provide a statement to the Western Province South Crime Division tomorrow.
Welcome back to First at 9. Now, Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe says that all reviews related to the IMF's extended fund facility are expected to be completed by mid-2027. The central bank governor, who is currently in Washington, D.C. to attend the 2025 annual meetings of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank, made this statement in a special interview with Derana. He also stated that discussions are ongoing with Sri Lanka's external creditors to expedite the debt restructuring process with the aim of completing it by the end of this year.
I'm here in Washington, D.C., attending the annual general meetings of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank, where over 190 countries are represented at the highest level by their finance ministers, central bank governors, economists, stakeholders, and those who run economies of those countries. Representing Sri Lanka at the highest level, we have Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, who is attending these meetings to hold bilateral meetings to talk to finance ministers and discuss Sri Lanka's future. While the IMF commended Sri Lanka for the reforms that Sri Lanka has made, there are also concerns about how we're going to manage corruption, SOE reforms, and also questions about revenue-making mechanisms for the long term.
After agreement for the completion of the fifth review that was done, then review will be taken to the board in December, subject to certain structural benchmark. Important one is to submit the budget and get the budget passed for 2025. 2026 in the parliament after the grid. In addition, there are other important reforms like SOE reforms, cost recovery pricing, and have a simple pricing mechanism to determine the cost recovery, and also socially fiscal based, revenue based fiscal consolidation. That is the bottom line of the program. We have to complete 8 reviews. We are hoping to do it in completion somewhere in the middle of 27. Going forward, even beyond the program period, we need to continue to implement the necessary reform in terms of doing business, more labor force participating by women, and also other important reforms in the addressing corruption vulnerabilities and making ESPC a place to attract foreign direct investment, continues to generate current account balances, surpluses, and build reserves to a much more comfortable level and maintain low and stable inflation. It's important for us to maintain sovereign debt sustainability beyond 2028 for us to be able to service all the foreign debt obligations for a medium to long term period.
Many feel that these tax reforms either hit the hardest, the most vulnerable, and there are still big corporates that need to come under the tax.
So what I can see going forward, my understanding with the fiscal authorities is that I don't see any further increases in rates, but we need to broaden the tax base, get a lot of other people into the tax net so that we will have a much more fairer taxation system where poorer people share the lesser burden and richer people will share the fair share of the total tax collection. With the new technology and digitalization, government should be able to broaden the tax base and then bring down the rates at some point to bring down the burden on the low income people.
Any new deals or packages, agreements that you will work with finance ministers?
Now the restructuring. We still have to complete some of the agreements with some of the bilateral parts. So when we are here, we meet and discuss with them how we can expedite the implementation and completion of signing of this agreement so that we can fully complete the bilateral basis based on members by the end of this year.
Global finance leaders gathered in Washington this week for the 2025 annual meetings of the International Monetary Fund and World Bank. Global policymakers, finance ministers and central bankers have wrapped up high-stakes discussions in Washington with this year's annual meetings focused on global debt, fiscal risks and slowing growth.
Top US-Chinese officials joined the Global Sovereign Debt Roundtable today, signaling continued cooperation despite escalating trade tensions. IMF strategy chief claims the roundtable has helped shorten debt restructuring timelines for developing nations, but urged more transparency in non-bonded loans, which remain a major hurdle. Countries like Ghana, Sri Lanka, Zambia and Suriname are still struggling to regain market access even after debt deals due to unresolved bank exposures. The IMF also warns that global public debt is set to rise above 100% of GDP by 2029, its highest level since 1948. Under a severe scenario, debt could climb to 123%, prompting fresh calls for fiscal reform and stronger buffers against future crises.
In the Fiscal Monitor, global public debt is projected to rise above 100% of GDP by 2029. In such scenario, public debt would be at its highest level since 1948. Moreover, the distribution of risks is tilted towards debt accumulating even faster. With a 5% risk, debt would reach 124% in 2029. The world public debt landscape is very diverse. This map displays the fund's fiscal risk assessment based on the latest debt sustainability framework from Article 4 staff reports. Countries differ widely in their deficit and debt levels. Many major economies have public debt greater or projected to go over 100% of GDP. Among the G20, these are Canada, China, France, Italy, Japan, the UK and the US. These countries typically have deep and liquid sovereign bond markets and often broad policy choices resulting in their fiscal risk ratings being moderate, yellow, or low, green. In contrast, many emerging markets and low-income countries face tougher fiscal challenges despite their debt often below 60% of GDP. Their policy options and funding access are limited. Prioritizing fiscal policy is essential to support debt sustainability and prepare fiscal buffers to use in case of severe adverse shocks, including financial crisis.
The fund notes that while advanced economies can better manage high debt, many emerging and low-income nations continue to face rising borrowing costs and limited fiscal space. Adding to the uncertainty, the IMF cautioned that the renewed US-China trade war could weigh on global growth despite a slightly improved 2025 forecast. With debt risks mounting and fiscal space shrinking, IMF officials are urging governments to act now, tightening budgets while investing in long-term growth.
Well, it's a busy day here in Washington, D.C. with the Global Sovereign Debt Roundtable taking place shortly. Governor of Central Bank of Sri Lanka, Dr. Nandalal Weerasinghe, will be participating, and it is believed that Sri Lanka will also be a focus for the International Monetary Fund and global leaders joining at the roundtable. And at the highest priority is discussions between US and China, with hope that trade tensions, particularly between the United States and China, will de-escalate as US Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent is here in Washington, D.C. To discuss with China how best US-China trade tensions and the tariff concerns are addressed, and also developing countries like Sri Lanka, emerging markets, frontier markets like Sri Lanka can actually have some way out of this trade tensions and the tariff concerns that our countries face because of tensions between the US and China. I'm Indi Variamuat, reporting for Ada Derana from Washington, D.C.
Welcome back to First at 9. The Colombo bourse closed in negative territory today as a result of price losses in counters such as Sampath Bank, Hatton National Bank and Melster Corp. The benchmark ASPI lost 0.36% to close at 22,292.28, while the more liquid S&P Sri Lanka 20 decreased by 0.25% to end the day at 6,210.11. Market turnover was 5.6 billion rupees. Foreign participation in market activity remained at subdued levels, with foreigners closing as net sellers, offloading shares worth 58 million rupees. Up next, we have Dinuka Dharmasena from Capital Alliance in our next segment, Economic Outlook.
Global oil prices eased this week. During 7 and 10 October, Brent and WTI fell by 28 cents and 18 cents per barrel after OPEC moved to its planned November output increase and as geopolitical risks moderated. In Sri Lanka, interest rates were broadly steady. The average weighted prime lending rate edged up to 8.19%, while the call-money rate held at 7.87%. System liquidity remained in surplus at 169.15 billion rupees. Government securities demand stayed firm, with the Treasury bill auction oversubscribed about 1.6 times and yields broadly stable.
That's all for tonight from First at 9. For the latest developments around the clock, stay in touch with Ada Derana, the Sri Lankan news brand of international excellence. Thank you for joining. Have a great night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit adaderana.lk.